one point you thought about float flying with the BushCat. You really haven't gotten to that point. Can you talk about that a little bit?
We certainly had an intention to investigate floats when we built the aeroplane. Further investigation, and especially with our experience of flying the aeroplane as a tail dragger in and out of short fields and all the rest of it, my experience of flying on floats, especially some larger airplanes on floats, is that once you put floats on an airplane, especially amphib floats, which are heavy, you chew up a whole bunch of payload, and actually it only does one thing well. It'll land on water more than once. Everything else, stability is compromised, pitch roll stability is compromised, as I say, it chews up a whole bunch of payload, goes away. So as soon as we put the airplane on floats, if we'd done so, then all the things we like doing it in the summer, you can't do. You're not going to take it in and out only short grass fields on amphib floats. So once we realized how great it was just flying the thing around here locally, we said floats makes no sense. The skis, we can take the skis on and off now they're rigged, 10 minutes on, 10 minutes off. Yep. Take amphib floats, take floats off the airplane, you've got to pick the thing up, you've got to do all sorts of stuff. It's a much more involved task. And in the end of the day, we don't want to do it. So.
Yeah, and the other thing about it is that, you know, in lieu of floats, you got skis, so in the wintertime when the lakes freeze up, you could go do all the things you wanted to do on a float plane.
That's exactly right.
And more.
And there's a lot of similarities actually between ski plane flying and float plane flying, apart from you don't have to worry about docking, but especially flat light and glassy water. Flat light on snow, glassy water on floats is pretty much the same thing. You can't see the surface, so it's the same skill set.
And you've got the oversized tires, so that certainly gives you a lot of flexibility.
Absolutely.
The other 3 seasons of the year and where you want to go.
People do put much larger tires than these on BushCats. And there may be some circumstances under which you really need that, but in our case, I don't think we'd ever need that.
And then we did a comparison of outfitting the airplane with what I'd call classic steam gauges, you know, keep it simple, just the basic gauges. And when it got right down to it, there wasn't much of a cost difference between going glass and going steam gauges. In fact, what we found out is relatively simple. You know, by the time you get a proper ELT, by the time you get a proper ADS-B out, which you have to have, by the time you get an operational radio, by the time you get some engine management devices in there to understand how your engine's doing, it all racks up to be just about the same cost. Yep. And with the modern glass panel, you get a lot more capability. You can configure that panel any way you want. You can, you know, optimize it for what you use it for. And, you know, everything's there. And so we just decided we'll go with, although small, modern glass, and it works really well. Yeah,
we put the smallest Dynon system in with a as Al says, ADS-B out transponder because we're in rural airspace here, and a single com radio, one backup analog airspeed indicator, and a slip ball, and we're good to go.
Satisfactory?
Absolutely.
Totally.
Does everything we want.
Yep.
It's a day VFR airplane only.
I think it's, you know, overall the experience, especially when we put it on skis, it really changed the dimension of the airplane. I think we are the only airplane that's ever graced EAA Chapter 113 on skis. I mean,
and either Al or I actually don't know which, is the world's high time BushCat ski pilot. I hope you're all impressed by that.
So there.
So I'm going to explain a little bit about the ski installation on the BushCat, and you can see I'm here wearing my famous orange suit, partly because the hangar door's open, it's pretty cold outside, and this is also the suit that I wear in the airplane all the time in the winter. So if I walk around here, you can see as you come in, this is the ski installation that we did. It's a wheel penetration ski, which means that there's a slot in the ski and a portion of the tire essentially puts through the bottom of the skis, so you can operate the airplane on hard surfaces as well as on snow or ice or whatever else you want to use. Typically with wheel penetration skis, you can have some additional drag by comparison with a straight ski. But of course, compared to a ski where you can actually move the ski up and down to retract the ski above the wheel for landings on hard surfaces and put it back down again for landing on snow, This is much lighter, and for an aeroplane of this class and weight, and certainly its performance, its stall performance, really makes very little difference in terms of its performance on the snow. This is a ski that was designed for light sport class experimental aeroplanes. It's a ski with a composite carbon fiber core with essentially a plastic sole plate, just like a bit like a regular snow ski, downhill ski. And as you can see, it's mounted on a stub axle here, which mounts on the inside of the standard Grove gear. So you can leave the stub axles on all year round, as we do, and we just put a plastic sleeve over them to protect the stub axle. So the ski can rotate on the stub axle, as you can see. The ski's held in place by two cables, one at the front, one on the back. The spring in flight lifts the nose of the ski, and the angle of incidence of the ski is constrained by this safety cable at the back. In the event this cable breaks, then the ski will float up until the ski compresses, but that's okay. What you don't want, obviously, is the ski to drop down like this in flight, because that might get quite exciting. So this is the rear safety cable, and it's this cable that sets the angle of incidence of the ski in flight. We set these to about +3 degrees. We lose maybe 3 or 4 miles an hour in the cruise, but it doesn't really matter in this aeroplane because we don't go very fast anyway. In the event that the spring breaks, then there's a safety cable running up the middle of the spring, and that's there to make sure that you don't have a situation where the ski would drop down in flight, especially on one side, because, as I said before, that was probably be something that would ruin your day. So very straightforward, springs and steel cables. There's a mounting point here, which is part of the mounting point for the rear gear if this was a nose wheel aeroplane. So it's actually not, but that mounting point is very convenient. And then we used just a little fish plate on one of the main gear bolts here. So actually it's a very easy installation. I mean, once you've rigged it and got the angle of incidence right, it's very straightforward. And as we said before, we can take these skis off both sides in 10 minutes. You don't need to jack the aeroplane because it's a wheel penetration ski. The ski just slides off the stub axles, and equally, once we've got snow on the ground, we put the skis back on again. So it's very flexible like that. And you can leave them on for a bit through the winter. I mean, we were actually flying the aeroplane this morning on a frozen lake just up the road. Didn't need the skis because there isn't any snow now, but the lakes are still nice and hard frozen, but it doesn't matter because it's no different from landing on a frozen lake as it is from landing on the runway that's just over there. So it's a very easy ski installation. Doesn't really have very much implication for the aeroplane handling, but it makes it awful much, lots and lots of fun for the winter. Adds about 54 pounds to the total weight of the aeroplane, moves the COG forward slightly, reduces the stalling speed somewhat because of the, as you see, the skis are quite large, and reduces the pitch effectiveness a little bit at high angles of attack because, again, of the angle of the ski. But in terms of overall handling of the aeroplane, really makes very little difference. Yes, one thing about the flexibility of the aeroplane operating in the winter around here, we got lots of grass strips around here. Most of them don't have any snow clearance facilities, so once the snow starts you can't use them, but aeroplane on skis, no problem. So it doesn't really affect our operating at all in the winter once we put it on skis, because all the little grass strips that we like, and some of them have got little restaurants that we can easily walk to, we can still go there. So here we are, going to demonstrate that you can take a pair of skis off a BushCat in 10 minutes. The time is, synchronise your watches, 10 minutes to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Perfect. Tools required. Yep. One spring puller, one spanner. What do you call this?
An open end.
It's a wrench. It's a spanner. Good grief, man. Okay. Badly creased up. Oh, you see, you're showing the sponsors. You're showing the sponsors side, the professional.
Right. And we are the BushCat Boys, also known as the BushCat Skiers.